What's up, everybody? It's Alex from Traders Retreat. Thanks for tuning in. I want to go over SPY. It's the weekly chart here has been, paving the path, we could say. And yet again, here we are with another weekly close last Friday, of course. And I want to go into a little bit in this video. There's going to be two videos this week, or I should say this week today. One on the weekly and one with the monthly. This will probably be a little bit longer because most of the structure and kind of the explanation will be in this. It's the same for the monthly time frame. Really, this process is the same for any time frame. So what I'm going to do is just briefly touch on the zones, give you an idea of kind of looking at this like a storyline, right? That's what we're doing. This is like a foreign language. When we are viewing charts, a lot of times people forget to kind of look for the overall story. And they don't really get the full picture. So hopefully I can gain or give you some knowledge or some tips and pointers on how I look at the charts, and how we can do so well. Nothing's perfect, right? And obviously some people have better days when I don't. But man, we've had some really good days over the last really couple of years. But yeah, anyways, let's get into it. So just so you know, I run its Discord, right? It's called Traders Retreat. If you can go to tradersretreat.net, it'll forward you right to the WAP page if you're interested. We do live trading. I have charts running every week or every day during Cash Open. There's a lot of resources. We just gave it a new makeover, had someone come in and kind of spruce it up, get some things consolidated. And I'm currently kind of working on these videos. I mean, this is to put out on social media, but to dive in and give a little bit more explanation on the topics, that I try to teach. So, we've seen the beauty is that, obviously there's definitely benefit on my end, to teaching because I'm focusing on the most important parts of my strategy, and because I'm teaching that to people every day, or at least talking about it, explaining on spaces, whether it's in the Discord trading live or publicly on Twitter or YouTube, it keeps it in the forefront of my mind. And I've seen real results from that over the last few years. So, and the other benefit, of course, is watching people actually, kind of get this. It's like you're teaching someone to fish and all of a sudden they can fish and they're making money consistently. And, nothing's going to be quick, that nothing that lasts comes easy. But it doesn't have to be super difficult, right? So anyways, just to get into that, it's a brief intro, I guess, and rundown. I'm going to be trying to do more of these on Twitter and YouTube. I'll post them separately. That way the algos don't get mad at me. But yeah, hopefully hopefully this is a good format and something you guys like. Please give me feedback. Always interested in feedback, good, bad, and different. Obviously engagement, share it if you think it'll help you or help someone else out, please share it and spread the word. So all right, enough of that. I appreciate all of it. I appreciate you all being here and watching this. So all right, so what I look for is what I call supply and demand zones, right? They're really just areas of liquidity, but I need to, what I'm looking for is to get a signal based off of a candle close. In order to do that, right, it makes sense logically and to me, and I'm not going to go too deep into this, but it makes sense if my signal is coming from a candle close. What I'm looking for is I want to look at that candle body, right, from a dominant candle. And it makes sense because liquidity is stretched. Obviously it's all over the charts, right? That's why price moves the way it does, or it moves obviously through all these prices. The thing is, where is it concentrated? And it makes sense that the open and close of a candle makes up that body where the majority of it is concentrated, as well as the opening price and the closing price, of the market, whether it's the day or the week, or even, this is a fractal thing, although truly the daily and weekly closes, as well as the quarterly and yearly closes, those levels make a big difference. So anyways, with that said, that's why I go after the open and close. So looking at current price, what we're looking for is let's look for the supply above, right? And I'll try not to spend too much time on this. It's the second time recording this because my son woke up. So we're going to give this a run, and see if we can do it. When we're looking for supply, right, we're looking for the basically out of an area of price action. I'm looking for the highest bullish closing candle, right? So what is the highest bullish closing candle going back consecutively? So because I'm looking for the price that's candle that's closing higher than where I'm at, I don't have to go down and back, right? I just know that I want to be, I want to go consecutively. I don't want to, it's whatever the next candle that fits that criteria, right? Back in time. So with that said, I can immediately take where current price is and move just slightly over to the left. And then see there's a bullish candle right here, right? So where does that go? That wick goes up to here, and I'm using my crosshairs here kind of to my advantage. I see it interacts with the wick here, but that body is way down here. So we'll go into that in a minute. And when we get into this price action. So that brings me over. Okay, so that's underneath, the highest price besides that candle. I come over and I see this bullish candle here, and this comes into the trick of it, right? This candle does kind of represent, the highest bullish close, but you can see that price, rallied up to this level here, and that is inside the body of the last, technically the highest out of charts period, right? This is all-time highs between these 2 weeks, but the highest bullish closing weekly candle. So I know that this is a supply zone again, and it makes sense because this candle price pushed up and is testing that liquidity. Again, all we're looking for, liquidity is all over the charts, but I want to find what are the dominant candles on specific time frames. And since we're looking at the weekly, right, we can see price, open down here. Maybe it dipped, whatever, it doesn't matter, right? But it pushed up at some point and got into this liquidity, right? This is a retest. We'll get into that in a minute. Came back down and closed down here. So sure, it closed bullish, but again, it rejected an area of sellers. So let's mark that, get into it. And I'm going to build out these zones real quick, show you guys kind of what we're looking at and what I want to pay attention to for this week. So, and I'm not getting too lost here. We are going back to this candle. But again, I want to show you guys how we work our way back, right? And we do classes on this, like I said, all the time. And I have stuff on my YouTube channel. You guys can go check it out, walking through this exact same process. Hopefully I've become better at explaining it. It's something, than I was, say, 12 months ago. But, let me know. Let me know in the comment section, right? All right, so we know that that is a supply zone. You can even see it here. Once we, this candle was created. This next candle, right, opened here, tried pushing up, it sold off. And once we got the close below here, right, what happened? We opened on this candle and we pushed up and retested something I talk about all the time, retesting the liquidity, retesting the zone. Well, we retested that liquidity only to sell off because the sellers obviously had given us a signal here, right? This is that bearish close underneath. Got the retest. That's where you get short. Your stop would be just above the highs. And your target, your initial target would probably be somewhere in here. Just because there's going to be some support, but the next target's way down based off this candle. So I mean, that's 433. So if you got short at 472, your first target here on the weekly be around, I'd say probably around 455 realistically, because it doesn't always have to go right to the level, but 455, and then if that pushed through, be looking like I said, all the way down to 435. So nice plays. This happens on, we see this, it's a fractal kind of setup. We see this on multiple time frames. The higher the time frame, the more confident I am in the signal and the more time it takes to play out sometimes. So keep that in mind. All right, so that is a supply zone. That is still valid. So now that I'm here, I can kind of work my way back down. I know that there was, this at one time was supply. There was a resistance level up here, but that was invalidated once we got above it, got a bullish close above here on the week. So this is the supply zone. So let's snap lines on that. And just so you know, I am using the magnet, the soft magnet or weak magnet, weak magnet feature. And what that does is it snaps my lines when I'm going to put a line or any drawing, really. It snaps it to the high, low, open, close of a candle, right? And you'll see it jump around a little bit. What that does, though, that gives me these specific levels, because again, I am interested exactly in the open and close when I'm getting signals from this. All right, doesn't mean there isn't liquidity around that, but if I'm waiting for a candle to close, we see closes, especially coming right up into the end of that, whatever time frame it is, whether it's the 5 minute, the hourly, the daily, the weekly, you'll see price interaction and flutter right next to this level that it's like, I need to get a signal off this. And sometimes you'll get that movement in the last few, last like 2% of the candle, whatever, on an hourly candle, we'll see the last like 2 minutes, 3 minutes, and sometimes it's the last 30 seconds. make a move. We saw this last week, actually, make a move to where it gave us a bullish signal. And if you hadn't waited, if you tried to jump the gun on it, it looked like it was going to be a short, and it didn't. Buyers bought it up, brought it back up, closed that candle above, and we got the bullish signal and we went for it. So, all right. So, anyways, that is a supply. It's worth waiting, right? Moral of the story on that rant is it's worth waiting for the candle to close. Intraday on the smaller time frames, absolutely, you can jump in, as things test. Just understand your risk to reward, right? Just know that you haven't gotten a full signal yet, but you can kind of get in and start positioning yourself, something I do all the time. And then, if I get a signal that goes against that, well, it's, I'm looking for an exit, or I'm looking, I'm tightening my stops up quite a bit. If it gives me in my favor, then, hey, I got a better entry and I'm in. Manage your risk. That's it, right? And look, so this is a supply, and I mean, it's not a secret, or it's not a surprise. It might be a secret to some, although I talked about it a bunch leading into this, that, this was the target. We were coming back up to a weekly supply. It's not surprising. I know there's sellers here, and where we bounced from, let's talk about that now, right? It was right out of demand. So if this is current price, you're looking for supply, you're looking for the highest bullish close. It's the opposite for demand, right? We're looking for the lowest bearish closing candle in that area of price action. So again, I can see here, right? I have this bearish candle is low. There's this one, but that's lower than that. And then, oh, look, it's inside the body of this candle. So let's snap some lines there. And then we're going to zoom in and I'll show you how you can say that you should have, not should have, but we knew that this was a true demand zone, weeks ago. And the reason is that you get confirmation, and I'm going to show you how to find that. All right. So zooming in, ignore everything else, right? Price, has pushed up here. Now there was a supply, like I said, there was an older supply zone. I'm not going to worry about that right now. You can obviously infer it once you zoom out. All I'm talking about here is that once, we had this bearish close down here, price, gap down, opened, ended up closing that week back up above here, right? As soon as that price, as soon as that candle closed up here, this became a legitimate demand zone, because there's nothing, the next bearish closing candle or set of them is way down here, right? It's actually this guy right here. This is a demand zone. I'm not going to mark it right now though. All right. So we know this is a demand zone here, right? What does it do? It gives us the bullish signal, close above, right? We come back down, we test that liquidity. We've talked about this, test that liquidity. And then this candle, buyers buy it up and we close the week back above the zone. That is a bullish signal. Okay. We got the retest and the bulls bought it up, kept us above the zone. That's our signal. As soon as the candles open that next day, right, you get the slight retest. I don't know if you guys can see that. Hopefully you can. There is a, you'll see it here. This little wick right here. I don't know if it makes a difference where I put it, but yeah, the little wick right here comes within, I think it's 15 cents. What's the low? The low is, 437.59, and that is 437.45. So it is within 14 cents of that of the top of that demand zone. That's the final retest. That's your entry to go long, and we did. We went long there and played it to the upside, and it played out great. And this has been the case ever, time and time again. So I just want to point that out. This is, and look where we come back down, right? So this is confirmed. So now as price is falling, and I said this a couple of weeks ago, I said it on Spaces. I've tweeted about it. It's like, look, I don't know what price is going to do, but I have a hard time being bearish. A lot of people on FinTwit, hey, bearish, it's falling apart. It's over. We had our run, whatever. See, it's 3 weeks of bearish fucking price action. Pardon my French. It's coming into demand. So I can't be bearish until, we break that zone. And look where we wick down to. The low on that is 433.01. And this is 433.21. So it's 20 cents on SPY on SPY. It dipped 20 cents underneath the support level. That is damn close. We see this time and time again. What happened then? We closed up inside the zone, right? And what did we do the next week? We gapped up and opened right on top of it. Dipped in, dipped the liquidity. We played this nicely, and boom, we close up above it. And that's when it's like, hey, going into the last week, maybe we'll retest this demand zone again. We don't know, right? I didn't know it was going to gap up this high. but my target was definitely up here near the supply. And there are daily zones inside of this that are valid, but do not sleep on the weekly. It's been a game changer. So what are we looking for going into this week? All right, I will try to not ramble too much on this. Two things have happened here. Well, one thing major, but we've had, well, two things. We've had this big push up, okay? Just so you guys can get a full picture here. Let me put this in. This was the supply zone here. So what I do is I make that a dotted line like that. Let me just put the whole zone in, I guess. I don't keep them normally once all this has happened, but just so you guys see it, what has happened? We finally got to close above this supply, right? Now only to fall back in. But again, once this closes above, that still gives me long-term confidence to be a bull. Now we got the big pullback. I didn't expect we'd get this much of a pullback. But again, if you ignore this zone above here, right? This solid zone, whatever, if you just ignore that for a second and just focus on the dotted line, that this dotted zone, what happened here? We got the close above and then immediately came down and closed back below it. Okay. Then what did we do? Price pushed up and all but perfectly retested that liquidity. And again, that's an area for a signal. Now that's when we knew, okay, we're probably going to sell back down. And we did. We sold back down, but to where? To the demand that had already been confirmed. So this is not a difficult chart, right? Looking at SPY, it was beautiful. I mean, this is where it's at. And this is not the only chart that can do this. Qs have done this. Qs have been a little bit more slippery because, it's more volatile because obviously a lot of weight is being carried right now in big tech. But oil stands out with this. The IWM, the Russell, I should say. That's what I chart, or the Russell futures. But you can chart IWM. Same, very similar things stand out on those charts. If you're interested in learning this, again, I teach this. I give it away for free. My DMs are open. But the reality is we sit and do classes twice a week, post charts all day, and trade it live. If that's something you're interested in, check out tradersretreat.net. Like I said, you can always DM me. It's not about the money, but it is a business. So I'd love to see it succeed. But yeah, I'm happy to help people out. This shit will make you money. That's it. All right. So what are we looking for this week? I'm going to get rid of these just so you guys see what we're doing. And we are pushing back up. People will say, oh, you're pushing back into that zone. Well, yes, there's liquidity there. So what? I can't get a signal from that anymore. I want a signal from this right here. This is the legit zone. This is where I know sellers are going to be. And what did we do? We tested that and we pulled back and closed underneath it. So that is technically a bearish signal. The only caveat to that, okay, is that we've had such a massive move up that a pullback is expected, right? It's not surprising. Anytime you get a pullback like this, when you bounce, you're always going to have a supply there. Now, I would have preferred to see it close the week inside instead of pulling back a little bit. We'll have to see where this week opens. If we gap up for a cash open on Tuesday, I should say. It is a short week tomorrow, right? Monday, probably by the time you're watching this. Obviously, futures are open, but equities are not, and futures may be on a holiday schedule. But if we gap up into this zone, or I don't think we'd go above it, but if we gap up into it, and again, that means that you're at or over 453.37. That would be very bullish. I mean, I'd look for a pullback, but I'd probably look for a pullback to last week's close and go long there. If we open up, underneath the zone, like I probably expect us to, I would be very weary of, when price pushes up. I do expect price to probably push up and test this liquidity again. I would either look for a short, depending on, the smaller time frame zones that I'd be looking for, or I would just wait. I don't need to be the first person on the train again if we are pushing through to the upside, or if we're rejecting. Wait for those signals, right? If we are going to reject the supply again, you bet your butt we're going back down towards this 433, 435 area, right? We're going back down to the zone, in my opinion, right? There's no reason not to think that we wouldn't come back down. And this is the range for now. You are basically 457 down to 433. There you go. That's the range. Now, once, if we see where the momentum is pushing up, sure, I'm going to hop in and get in. What you want to see for bullish continuation is this coming week on Friday at 4 p.m. to close above this zone, at least inside of it, but you really want to close above it. That's if we're going to stay bullish and continue up. If we're going to come down and be bearish this week, it's still just a pullback or a consolidation range, unless we close a weekly candle under the bottom of this demand zone. So that'd be under 433.21. again, these are just things to look for in the future. I'm sure I'll do more videos. So, all right, I'm going to leave it at that for now. This is the SPY SPY 1 week chart. This is your range. We just talked about that. Hopefully the explanation of the zones makes this more than just a, oh, he said, yeah, if we gap up over the zone, we're bullish. Well, no shit, right? I mean, everybody knows there's resistance up here, but how do you precisely navigate, basically a foreign language? You understand the price action. And when you understand the fractal nature of how price moves and how institutional traders can interpret this, right? And again, there are other ways, but if you were building an algo or you were trying to train people on how to trade and how to like get a common signal, right? You train them risk management, right? Like quants do. And then you would teach them how to kind of interpret the zone. Or if you're training an algo, you would need, you wouldn't want to use one level. You'd want to use probably two. You can structure trades a lot better that way, manage your risk. You don't get stopped out immediately or just jump in things, right? Again, you want a full zone, but you'd be waiting for a candle close, a period of time, right? Price movement within a period of time. That's all these candles represent. You're looking for a close. That'll give you the signal. Now, if you're using the close, going back to what I said in the beginning of the video, well, then, I'm going to use most likely the close from whatever candle I'm watching. And if I want two levels, the two dominant levels on a candle are the open and the close. So hopefully that makes sense, you guys. Again, the proof is in the pudding. These things have worked time and time again. But check it out. Don't trust me. Find them on your charts, watch, see what happens, and play it out, right? You don't have to figure this out this week. As long as you figure it out in the next, few months, you'll be making money, and in a year, you won't even care. So how long it took. So, all right, guys, take care. That was fun. Hopefully everybody has a good one. Keep your eyes open for the next video. It is coming. I'm going to put the monthly up here, right? And go through it. It's actually more bullish. And then at the end of that video, I'll put both zones on, and you can kind of see how they overlap. So I think it'll be interesting. All right, take care.